Try to give the historical perspective as to when and why
Smoking is
the law was
the substance is smoke that has been found
as well as
most addictive is nicotine.
we should recall in Nigeria during the
drug abuse
and the analog to digital.
indiscriminately.
Sometimes even design from 2001.
yes, there is a link between malaria and
and the spread of cholera.
Okay, let me even start this to make it more clear. Just
If you want to be theoretical, it applies to even men. Well, in practice,
The chief servant.
This is Medishow.
Niger State is blessed with large tracts of fertile land, which is seen as a resource to be utilized for development of the state. The Niger State government made a wise investment to keep pace with the modern technological trend of land management and development by putting in place geographical information system to improve Niger State capacity on land administration. This is Mother Show. I am Emil Dyson. We'll be right back to meet my guest. Stay. Joining us on the program today is the General Manager, Niger State Geographic Information System, talking about Dr. Abdul Husseini. You're welcome to Medi Show.
Thank you very much.
Sir, you were the coordinator and also the general manager since when the agency was commissioned by the president. Why was Niger State Geographic Information System established?
NIGIS as a project started in 2009 when the state government conceived the idea of transforming land documentation process from the analog to digital process. So we commissioned a consultant, Civil Design, in 2009. That was the effective, should I say, commencement date of NIGIS project. However, I came on board as the coordinator in 2010 or thereabout. After the project has gone into, should I say, the second phase. The first phase was the procurement of the equipment, commencement of the conversion of the hard files into digital format, and so on. So I came when the project was about to be commissioned. So I took over as the coordinator to at least put, should I say, control in the process. And that was October 2010. So from 2010 October to when the project was commissioned by the president in 2011, I was acting as the coordinator of the project. However, in 2012, precisely around May, the chief servant elevated the position of the coordinator to the general manager. And now we are an agency with a full legal backing as Niger State Geographic Information System Agency.
Let us know the vision and mission of the agency.
So if you are looking at the vision of NIGIS as an organization, is to provide a kind of environment where, or an outfit where you will get information about land and land-related activities at the shortest possible time for whatever use you want to put that information into. So that is to make information readily available and also to generate as much as we can revenue from land-related transactions. That is our main, should I say, objective.
Now let's look at the scope of the work.
The scope of the activities of NIGIS is the whole state. Let's start from there.
The whole state.
The whole state. And then what are we really talking about when we say the whole state doing what? First and foremost, maybe we need to know the component of work that we are doing or supposed to do. The main function based on the initial project is the land documentation and related activities in such a manner that, process of getting your CFO, transaction consent, and so on and so forth, to make it in such a manner that will be very efficient and then effective. However, some of the, or one of the, or other function of the agency, that the bill or the edit that set NIGIS that was just passed also include the provision of information or geospatial information for decision making to the government. What am I talking about here? You know, spatial information, which is information that is on space, or the information about the earth, or the information about the spatial phenomenon around you, should be provided for decision making. And the best way to do that is using geospatial techniques in the modern way, using the, should I say, the digital format. So if that is the case, if there is anything to be done, for instance, housing, should I say, planning, siting of uses like factories, school, and so on and so forth, the government want to know where to site all these project or uses. Not because they don't have the place or they don't know the place, but there is what you call synoptic coverage. What synoptic is all saying is, when you have information at your disposal, maybe in front of you, it's easier to take a decision. This is where we are. You will know the spatial distribution of project, and then that will also aid you in knowing what we call, should I say, justification of the site of that project. You have, from your map, you have over 10 transformers or 2 or 3 public schools in one location based on the map before you. Then there are other areas that doesn't have any. Then that will also make you feel that, okay, let's go to that direction.
Yeah.
So we need to have all this information available, and we need to help government with the information. And that is one of the major work that we're even currently going on, that is currently going on here, generating what we call the basic urban services information that can be used not only by government, but any other person. For instance, we have a different layer of information on all the telecom masts that we have around the state. The information one will need maybe about the service provider, MTN, Glo, Etisalat, and so on. Where are they? Or you can also use the same information to know why certain service or certain network is having problem with service in certain location. Because from the map of their spatial location within, let's say, Mina, we would say, okay, no wonder in Barikin Saleh they're having problem, because most of these maps from the map available is located or located in so place. So that is what we're also working on. So by and large, the scope of NIGIS service or services cover but the land documentation, which is the one that almost everybody is aware. No, not even priority, that everyone is aware because of our relationship with the Ministry of Land.
Okay.
Yes, but also providing other geospatial information for both the government and public. Okay. And when I say public, you can come here as a private person, you are looking for information, of course. You pay a token to get the information. So we're working on that, and then we're also almost there.
Okay. How has been the services so far? Give us a brief description of the services you have provided or rendered.
So far, so good. Within the last, let's say, 1 year, from January to date, we've been able to, in concrete terms, try to put on track certain changes in the way and manner we operate. If we take, for example, the way traditionally we used to process our land documents, it is like a favor to get information from somebody that's working here. You need to know somebody to be able to get certain information, to know where your file is, to know when to come and collect your certificate, to know whether your payment is even actually paid where it should be paid. What we have been doing from January by all the committee, because we have 2 running committees that are working for NIGIS and then with NIGIS. How do we develop the confidence of people on the activities of NIGIS? That is very important thing. This issue of perception. When you talk about the Ministry of Lands, usually there is this this process that when you say that no one it will end, there is no information trail, there is so many things. But we were able to change that by a very simple technique, acknowledging whatever you have done. Any transaction you conduct here, there will be a kind of follow-up. Your payment was received for this purpose on this date, and then this is where you are. And the moment your certificate is out, you will also receive the same information. Your certificate is out, and come and take. And the moment you come to take your certificate after payment, before even maybe getting to your house or within 24 hours, you will also receive acknowledgement. So that singular process of notifying the public on whatever they are doing with us is developing a kind of, is building one, should I say, a deposit, emotional one, that yes, there is a change that is taking place. And how do you also translate that to the government side? What is the government seeing in return? Is revenue. We can also say with the level of confidence that within the last 1 year we've been able to
generate some revenue.
To generate substantial amount. That is very, very significant.
Are you saying that the influx of people coming here to request issues relating to land matters and other things are increasing by the day?
Yeah, by the day. In fact, some are even coming with something that they thought maybe we'll have a kind of miracle to solve all the problem about. I want to know where this is, and you need to know the process. When we talk of GIS, it is the information that you input that you get as output. So you must work to get, and that is why we are doing what we call this information transformation. And what are we saying? Information transformation is all about. It's not that we don't have the information before, but they are in hard format. So what we are doing now is to get this information into our system and then transform into a digital format that one can take and use for his own use.
How long does it take you to complete the services you render, and what are the charges?
Some people will say, I opened my file for over 3 years, 4 years, some will even say 10 years. So we need to look at it from a very simple angle. If land that is being processed is customarily acquired, that is owned by somebody before even coming to Nigeria for processing, it is that person that will have to prove that that land belongs to him. So what we have evolved within the last 1 year is to look at how to segment the process. We won't say we can finish everything within 2 weeks or within 3 weeks, no. Okay. What we used to say is, the moment we are able to establish the root of title, the root of ownership, that land belongs to you, then we should be able to finish technical activities on your file within 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Then we should be able to get the consent of the chief executive, that is the chief servant, within a week. So by and large, we're talking about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
But it's not always possible to do this within that 3 weeks. Not because of us, but because there are certain things. Because you come to us and say, this is my land. We don't know when you acquired the land. We don't know whether you inherited the land. We don't. So we need to ask you, okay, give us the document. Show us evidence. So sometimes somebody will come because of just ordinary understanding. There is what you call this gentleman's agreement. I know you. I sold the land to you, or my house to you.
And nothing to show for it.
No, there will be something to show, but that thing that I'm giving you is also in somebody's name that I initially acquired from.
Okay.
So, and if you are presenting to government for documentation, the name on the paper, even though the agreement you are giving the government will be between me and you. However, the name on the paper that you are given as the root of title is reading Mr. X. That is not in the picture. So you need to also carry along the history from that Mr. X to the final person. So all these processes need to be done within a very good time. So sometimes people are not because they are not stable. Sometimes some people usually take advantage of their holidays during Christmas, during Salah, to come and act. So before you get them again, maybe till another 3 months, 4 months, or after another break. So all that used to take this long. But what we have devised is to now say, okay, all the files that are pending for information should be analyzed in such a manner that let's use the same process of this text sending SMS, that your file is here and this is the information that is, so that you need to know that something is happening, you need to come back to complete. Don't assume just because I open my file you have given a number and then it's automatic. No, you are the one that will come and give us information. But however, if it is a layout, layout is a government that designed the area, government acquired the land, pay compensation, design it into plots, maybe 1,000 plots, and then I'm telling you, within 1 day we can give 100 people allocation.
Okay.
Because it's very simple to do that.
Supposing I acquire a land now, do I need to come to Niges?
Of course, because when you see, why do you need, the question is, why do I need to document my land? Is because a land without title is a land that is not described.
Okay.
What do I mean by that? You have the land, of course, yes, it's your land. But leave me now and go to another place. I have a land. Where is the land? This is the paper. And the paper is not actually fixed. Any paper given by Niger State government is described. And how do you describe something? Is using what we call geographic coordinates. And there is only one, should I say, description for each point on Earth. Okay. So if this is your plot located in Tunga, and we provide the title deed plan with the coordinate and with all the readings, you can be in London, you can zoom and see your land. You can transfer, and that is why for you to get a loan, somebody wants you to present what? A certificate of occupancy. Not because they just don't trust you, but because I want to know the land I'm talking about. If tomorrow there is dispute, how do I know? You can come with an argument, I, Mr. A, sold to Mr. B, and then there's no description. Then that means that land is floating. It doesn't have fixed point. I can keep on changing. I say, no, I didn't mean here. It's the other place. Because I say plot A. Plot A could be anywhere. But plot A would coordinate A, B, C, D, and each of these A, B, C, D is having X and Y. I'm telling you, that is the difference between a documented paper and undocumented paper. So if you hold a paper, let's say you have 100 hectares of land, and that is why we keep on saying, people are living on what do you call dead capital. And it is a very, very, very unfortunate situation where, go to our rural areas, people really have money, but they don't know they're in poverty. If you have land, that is how the West, when I mean the West, the developed world, move from where they are to industrial position because of what their ability to fix value to land. By what? Titling. So if you go to, maybe I know your own place, if you go there or go to any rural area, you will see the number of people that own house, very many. Percentage of house ownership in our villages is higher than in the urban area. But yet the rate of poverty is high. Somebody can tell you I have over 1,000 hectares of land. And yet he cannot afford 1,000 naira to solve cholera. Because the land that he's having cannot fetch him anything. So that is the idea of Nigeria, trying to give value to people's land so that they can achieve sustainable livelihood and economic development.
After titling the land now and it's being recognized and documented here in Niger, supposing you want to sell it out, you still have to come here and make changes.
What you own your land, you have your title from the government, not from Niger. I think let's get the perspective very clear. Based on the Land Use Act, not decree, now we're in democratic dispensation. Land is what is held in trust by the governor for the citizen. So whatever you want to do is like a kind of seeking for consent. That is what this certificate of occupancy is all about. So you have your land and you have the certificate, and you transact, should I say, a business, or you transfer your right. That is the language, not sell, because you don't sell land.
Okay.
But let's say I transfer my right over my land with certificate of occupancy number 1, 2, 3. What do I need to do? By all intent and purpose. You see, what we don't do here in especially developing countries is this taking record as very important. When you have a land, there is information about the owner, name, age, sex, and so on. So if there is a change in ownership, naturally you need to inform the government, because that transfer, you need to get what we call the consent of the governor. And this consent is already delegated to the Honorable Commissioner of Lands and Housing. That is what we call consent to assign. Consent to assign, consent to mortgage, consent to alienate, consent to whatever. All these are what part of the transaction that one can do with his title. For instance, consent to mortgage. You want to take loan from the bank. You can't just go and take. The bank will come and do what we call search, yeah? You that you are saying is your land. Are you truly the owner? That's what we call search. And you pay 5,000 to do that here. And they will come and look through your file the information you gave to them in the bank, all these things they will confirm. Have you been paying your ground rent, or you have a debt, or have you taken loan before now with, let's say, bank X, and then you are going to bank B to come and take a loan. So all these things need to be done. So that is why you need to get what you call consent. So the commissioner can give that consent to mortgage. All you do is to come here, you pick the form for consent, and then you pick which of the appropriate consent that you want to go into. If it is the transfer, that means I have transferred my right completely to Mr. A. Then when the commissioner approved that by virtue of the delegation of power by the chief servant or by the governor, automatically that consent that is being signed has now given him complete authority over the land. So that is the transaction.
Okay.
But it's not common here. We are also taking almost everything for granted.
Okay.
I can buy it from you, let me use your own language, and then I will take the certificate and put it under my bag without going even to perfect. That is what we call perfection. We don't do that. So it's very important to do that.
How challenging has it been to meet up with the demands and needs of the citizens in the state?
One of the challenge that has been associated with transaction in land is this perception of what comes from land. How do I take advantage of the system to get certificate before Mr. A? So you can have a dispute with somebody, and before you know it, he will rush to you to get his document. So what I'm trying to say here, the challenge can be assessed from so many fronts, but let me put one very simple explanation here. As government agency, how do I know you are the true owner of plot A that you are presenting to me for documentation? That is a very serious issue, because you will be the one to be very careful in the process titling that document, because you are the one that is coming to me and you are showing me that is your land, and probably that land belongs to somebody that is a very small boy. By virtue of being an uncle, an auntie, a mother, whatever, you cannot say, because of course you are the one, and then you know all the ropes to how to make the rope to go and get your document, court affidavit, and so on, and then we might end up providing that certificate to you. But we are doing that not in error, based on what the fact before us. So that is one challenge. The other is that of trying to meet the demand of people, especially the how do I put it, the people that cannot afford to get land directly from government. And do you know the reason why it's important for us to provide that land to them? These are the most vulnerable people that can easily go to the fringes, where you don't have plan, you don't have road, you don't have drainage, you don't have anything. Because ordinarily, maybe I'm a market man selling suya and so on and so forth, and I apply for land here because of whatever criteria, it will be very difficult for me to get. So what do? I'll go back to Mengwa, and then he will give me 100 by 150 by 50, or 15 by even 50, because the Mengwa will sell the land according to what you can afford. So you can even get the land of 50,000 maybe, and then you are getting that land of 50,000 not in a far away place, but in a place where there are other people like you. And before we know it, we on this side, that person might have already started developing. And that is how we are having the expansion of our settlement without plan. And that is what the implication of that, slum development. And what is the implication of slum? Slum usually makes it very difficult for even government to discharge its duty as government. Government might decide to say, I want to take water to area A. But believe you me, when you start digging the line to take the pipes, you will reach a place where you have a house that is on that. When you bend to the other place, there will be another house, and then you may end up what? If you say you want to pay compensation to get this thing, then you'll be seeing them on that your track without end. Or you want to take light. This is the straight line for you to take that to the community. Unfortunately, there are buildings on the route. In terms of emergency, fire, there's no access. Woman want to give birth, labor in the night, no access. And then what happened? So these are some of the issues that planning and land administration, if properly handled.
What should we expect in near future?
First, what you will expect from Nigeria in the coming years is information about land at your fingertip, and then advice and services to the community also at any given time. And will also be like a kind of, should I say, a dashboard to government to show them this is the direction that things are going.
Thank you very much, General Manager, Niger State Geographic Information System, Dr. Abdul Hussaini.
Thank you very much.
The Niger State Geographic Information System is playing its role. We need to place value on our lands and make comprehensive land planning to improve the development of our state. On behalf of my crew, wishing you a wonderful day ahead, I am Imelda Isin. Bye for now.